load of rubbish. Because it was in 1981, as a matter of fact, December 1981, that I visited the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And my visit coincided with the decision of the government to abolish taxation. Are you surprised? The Democratic People's Republic of Korea decided to abolish taxation. And I was referring to some friends of mine and said, but how can you abolish taxation? If you abolish taxation, how can you build roads and so on? And I said, roads are not built by taxes. Roads are built by human labor being applied to material. And with the right engineering skills, you build roads. You build roads if you have bitumen. You build roads if you have materials for making concrete. You build roads when you have good engineers. You build roads with manpower, our intellectual capacity, and materials. Not taxes. Taxes can't do anything unless people apply themselves to use those taxes to get the materials needed and to apply human brain and muscle power. But you know, I asked my guide then, now what does this mean? And I said, well, this is a communist state. Everybody works for the state. At the end of the month, we pay everybody so much, and we take from their pay and call it taxes. What if we just paid them what they needed? So instead of paying them 12 cedis to take back 2 cedis, if you pay them 10 cedis, what is the problem? So there's this fixation with taxes because we don't break it down. We don't break it down. Why? Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, when he has started his agitation for national independence, and when he put us on the path of self-reliance, development, and so on, first and foremost started as a leader of the West African Students' Union. He started as a leader of the West African Students' Union because he was fully convinced that no independent or no African country could go it alone. And that as Africans, we needed to tackle our problems in unity. That the scourge of colonialism in those days needed to be confronted by the full might of all West Africans acting together. African unity, African integration is part of the effort to resolve the problems of Africa. Today, if you look at the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo has enough hydro resources to provide the whole of Africa with electricity. The Democratic Republic of Congo alone has enough hydropower to provide the whole of Africa with electricity. Today, the Nile comes from Egypt, through Sudan, through all of those countries and so on. Why can't the countries through which the Nile passes sit together and think about how to utilize the resources of the Nile to resolve their common problems? Why can't they do that? Not long ago, La Côte d'Ivoire claimed that part of our oil resources belonged to them. I hope you remember. And some of the soldiers in La Côte d'Ivoire were ready to go to war to claim that oil field. Good counsel prevailed, and eventually we went to an international court of arbitration, and it was decided that that oil belonged to Ghana. Wait a minute, just ask yourselves, if that oil had been given to La Côte d'Ivoire, especially La Côte d'Ivoire under Alassane Ouattara, what would have happened to that oil? They would simply have surrendered it to Total of France. They didn't give it to La Côte d'Ivoire, they gave it to Ghana. What did we do to what they gave us. We gave it to the multinational corporations from the colonial metropolis. And today, we get only 20% of the oil we dig from our soils. We were ready to go to war with La Côte d'Ivoire over oil, only to take the oil and give it back to our colonial masters. Brilliant leaders, extraordinary leaders, visionary leaders. Is that what we have? This is our problem. The whole of the continental shelf in West Africa, according to studies, has oil and gas. The whole of the continental shelf. Why can't Armageddon hasn't arrived yet? Why can't the leaders of West African states come together and form a consortium to raise the resources so that we can exploit our oil and gas resources in West Africa for West Africa past these multinational corporations? Why can't we do that? Why can't we do that? And we have reduced ECOWAS to some kind of a laughing stock, completely removed from the reality of our situation. So today, ECOWAS makes decisions about Mali, and the Malian people are out in the streets in their thousands, laughing at ECOWAS leaders and hooting at them. That's the reality. Today, ECOWAS makes decisions about Guinea, and the Guinean people are in the streets in their thousands, demonstrating against ECOWAS leaders. The gulf between the leaders of ECOWAS and the people of ECOWAS is getting wider and wider and wider. And I do hope that one day these leaders of ECOWAS will sit up and re-examine themselves and take steps to bring their policies and actions in line with the true aspirations of our people. Today, we have been deceiving ourselves for a very long time. The last time I heard, African leaders claimed to have signed some agreement which would enable us trade amongst ourselves. And we were hailing ourselves. We have signed an agreement which will enable us trade amongst ourselves. What do you produce to go and trade? What do you produce? In Ghana, toothpicks are imported. Toothpicks are imported. We are importing tomatoes. We are importing contombre. We are importing plantain. So if you go and sign an African free trade agreement, what are you trading? If you sign an African free trade agreement and you are trading in goods produced in China, Japan, and Britain, what is the use of that free trade agreement? Who benefits from it? I'm sick and tired of all of this nonsense. Nonsense which has no relevance to the effort to alleviate the pain of our people. Comrades and friends, look around us. Look around us. Look at the gold industry. Today, total Ghanaian interest in the gold industry is 3%. 3%. And as if that is not bad enough, our Bank of Ghana has signed a foreign exchange retention agreement with the mining companies, which allows the mining companies to keep 98% of the value of gold exported from this country abroad. Why would you not try to impose e-levy on us? Why would you not do some of the foolish things that are being done today? If you allow the mining companies to keep as much as 98% of the value of gold exported out of this country, what are you going to do with your 2%? Why would you not face the kinds of problems we are facing today? You know, this morning, I read the Ghanaian newspapers, and I was happy about something which had happened. You know, the mining industry had decided to contribute $4 million to the disaster relief at Apiati. You understand? And for the first time, I saw this young minister for lands and natural resources saying, no, this is not enough. You have made too much money out of this country for you to throw $4 million at us. And that the mining industry needs to do more in the rehabilitation of Apiati. It's a small beginning, but it is a good beginning. And I'm happy with that. Now, this disaster that happened at Apiati should tell us a lot about the economy we are running in this country. Why? Many of the people who worked in that village, who live in that village, who died, whose houses were demolished and so on, work for the mining companies. Look at their houses, the houses they live in. Look at their conditions of life. Compare that to the expatriates who come and get licenses to mine gold. Why? Look at the disparity. Look at the disparity. Look at what we suffer. When I was growing up, I was told that the best oranges in the world come from Obuasi. Indeed, all of us know about Obuasi Anka, oranges from Anka, Obuasi. They are so sweet. It was in the 1980s that I saw a report which had been put forward by the Third World Network, which indicated that the acidic level in oranges from Obuasi, food from Obuasi, is 300 times more than what is approved by the World Health Organization. This is a consequence of mining. And what are we getting for suffering this consequence? All of us have heard the stories about fishes dying in waters in the mining area as a result of arsenic poisoning. Are we going to die for nothing? Are we going to die so that the bank accounts of multinational corporations will swell? What is wrong with us? What is wrong with our leaders? And indeed, we have these leaders. We have these leaders because we have allowed them to be leaders. If we refuse to allow them to be leaders, they cannot be leaders. And we are in this situation because we are partly to be blamed for it. We sit down every 4 years, and then they come to us and say, go and vote for me, and they come with all kinds of foolish slogans and so on, lies, propaganda and so on, and then we line up in the sun and vote for them, and when we finish, they look us in the face and say there's no space in the public service to employ us. But they still find space in the public and civil service to employ their sons and daughters and relatives. We allowed this to happen. If we are true Nkrumahs, if we believe in the ideas of Osagyefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and so on, we must say to ourselves that never again would we allow charlatans to pose as our leaders, and that we can take our destiny into our own hands and march forward into a future of prosperity. Let us say to ourselves that we will become masters of our own destiny, and that we will build our independent organizations and begin to construct a new world on the foundations of social and economic justice. Let us say to ourselves that the time has come to mobilize as never before to shake off the shackles of colonialism and reckless management of our resources. Comrades and friends, the independence movement which was led by gallant men and women like Nkrumah, like Dede, Ashikishan, all of them, had three clear objectives. The first objective of the independence movement was for us to get power, political power, for us to retrieve our power, to choose our own leaders. Because under colonialism, we couldn't choose our own leaders. The Queen of England appointed the governor, who was the head of state. There were times in our colonial history where the Queen of England actually even appointed district and metropolitan chief executives for us. When I was growing up, you went to church, and the head pastor was a priest. The postmaster, the head pastor, was white. The postmaster was white. You went to hospital, the doctor was white. You went to secondary school, your biology teacher was white. Your geography teacher was white, and so on. Why would you not develop a complex of inferiority? Why would you not develop a complex of inferiority if anybody who mattered in your society was white? Why would you not come up with silly slogans and statements like Obronyona Anyi John and so on? But after 56 years of independence, we cannot be saying to ourselves that Obronyona Anyi John. After 56 years of independence, we must be able to stand on our feet and say to the world that we will make our own mistakes and we will succeed, and that we are not inferior to any other people anywhere in the world, and that we can build our own nation. So, comrades and friends, as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about the Ghanaian economy, you are talking about the institutions and mechanisms put in place to make sure that we can eat, that we can drink water, good water, and bath well. That when I wake up in the morning, I must get soap to wash my body, to wash the dirt on my body, off my body. When we are talking about a good economy, we are talking about the arrangements which make it possible for my grandson to go to school and to grow up to become somebody like Samuel Kujato. That's what we are talking about. What we are talking about is to develop that capacity which will make sure that my grandson would never go naked on the streets of Accra, and that he will have enough to cover his body against the vagaries of the weather and so on. Nothing magical. These are the simple things that we are talking about. Look, I think I've spoken enough. But let me end it this way. You know, today in Ghana, our country is so badly polarized. And this polarization finds expression in our parliament. You go to parliament, 137, 137. Somehow, through some tricky things and so on, somebody has managed to declare that one side which has 137 is the majority, and the other side which has 137 is the minority. How they work this magic out, I don't know. But they have done it. The reality today is simply this. This winner takes it all politics cannot work in our circumstance. This majority-minority mentality is a thing of the past. The reality today is that we must find ways of thinking and working together. Look, this week I've been completely stunned because of this fixation with majority and minority. Look at how much we spent on one meeting of parliament. Hiring private jets for parliamentarians who were outside the country to come and vote. Private jets for votes. Look at how much we are told parliamentarians were paid just to show up in parliament. It is crazy. It's not working. And we have to realize that. Instead of spending millions getting parliamentarians into Parliament House to vote and so on, why can't we say to ourselves that this is the state of our national economy, this is where we are, what do you think? What do you think and what do you think? Why can't we think together and agree on the way forward? How can't we think together to build consensus and so on? This country is in need of consensus building. And consensus building can only come about when you have mature and sensible leaders. In the absence of mature and sensible leaders, in the absence of leaders who think about you and I, in the absence of leaders who think about my grandchildren and so on, we can never build consensus. And this madness of competition, majority versus minority and community and community, will destroy us all. Comrades and friends, we haven't seen anything yet. And let me be graphic. When we are told that to service our debts and to pay public sector emoluments, we need 128% of total national revenue. Do you know what that means? It means that if our president decides to move from Flagstaff House to North Jowulu, where we are today, we have to borrow to put petrol in his car. That's the reality. It means that if we get foreign guests today and we want to give them food, wache, don't think about those. We have to borrow to buy wache for a foreign guest. It means that if we have to construct gutters in our communities, we have to borrow. It means that if we have to find medicine for the sick people in our society, we have to borrow. That's how bad things are. That is how bad things are. 128% of total national revenue goes into paying for only 2 items on the national budget. That's how bad things are. That is how bad things are. And what is the way out? To borrow more? E-levy? No. The way out is that we must begin to think outside the box. Think outside the box. The way out is to begin to look at the resources we have and how we may exploit those resources to improve lives. The way out is to stop thinking inside that small dirty box. The way out is to get out of that dirty box and think as Nkrumah did. You know, not too long ago, I was on the streets of Caracas, Venezuela, with a friend of mine who is in this crowd. I don't know where he's sitting somewhere, Justice Hineku. And before we went to Caracas, the Western media was making so much noise about hunger in Venezuela. The people of Venezuela cannot eat. There is no food because the government is so bad and so on. That's what we were being told. Justice is in this crowd. Justice Hineku is in this crowd. And then we got to Caracas. And we're driving through the streets of Caracas. And Justice drew my attention and said, look. a heap of oranges as high as this building. Oranges, raw, fresh from the farm. I said, but look, they said the people are hungry, look. And I looked and I said, but these are oranges. Who eats oranges for dinner? And then we continued moving. And then we saw a heap of cassava, heap of cassava. And then by the roadside, we saw the people's staple on the roadside and so on. And Justice and I began reflecting. How can there be so much food, and yet we are being told that there's no food in Venezuela? And Justice was the person who got it first. And he said, look, the bourgeois and the petty bourgeois don't eat the people's food. So you can have the people's food in abundance. If you don't have cornflakes, you don't have sardine, you don't have ideal milk, and you don't have what other thing, noodles and so on, then there's no food, because the bourgeoisie's food is not there. It's the food for the masses which is there. And it taught me a lesson. In 1966, the coup plotters and their supporters said that there was hunger in Ghana. That's why they staged the coup. Meanwhile, the Workers' Brigade was producing tons of maize. The Workers' Brigade was producing yams. It was producing cassava and so on. That middle class, the petty bourgeois and the bourgeoisie, they couldn't get their cornflakes. They couldn't get their ideal milk and sardines. And therefore, they thought that the world had to come to an end. This is the time. This is the time for socialist and revolutionary forces to tell that petty bourgeoisie, the elite in our society, that we prize the interest and comfort of the masses, the working people, above theirs. And we shall continue to work to produce the cassava, the cocoyam, the contombre, and so on, the palm oil, the kobe, and others, so that our people can eat and eat well. And break this dependence on the colonial metropolis, even for our food. Comrades, I think that it will be a monumental crime if I do not end with comments on what is happening between Ukraine and Russia. And I do this because it has serious repercussions for all of us. 4 days ago, I was reading a report from the Bank of Ghana, which predicted that petroleum prices were going to be stable throughout the year, around $71 per barrel. So we started doing all of our calculations on the basis of $71 per barrel. 2 days later, after Biden and Putin exchanged some hot words and so on, bam, it moved to $90 per barrel. This morning I checked, the price of petrol on the international market had moved to $103 per barrel. Now all of you know what that means for the Ghanaian economy. So what is happening between Russia and Ukraine is not something which is too far away. It will affect your pocket, it will affect the size of your kenke, it will affect your ability to survive. And that is why it is important for all the sane voices of the world to be calling for a ceasefire as quickly as possible. We need a ceasefire in that confrontation. We need a ceasefire because we cannot continue to suffer the consequences of the rivalries in Europe. The rivalries in Europe between the different capitalist and nationalist forces led to World War I and World War II without consequences for all of us. And our fathers and grandfathers fought in those wars and lost their lives. Europe should not drag the world, into another war. 2 wars are enough. We don't want a 3rd world war. But in all of this, it is also important to insist that the legitimate security interests of Russia must be taken into account. Why is NATO continuing to exist today? NATO was supposed to be a counterforce to the Warsaw Pact Treaty. The Warsaw Pact is over. It no longer exists. So why is NATO there? What is NATO doing? What is NATO doing? These senseless confrontations and threats of biting sanctions and so on can only lead to more disaster for all of us in the world. And we call upon the leaders of Europe to be responsible and to think and to do everything possible to avoid another catastrophic war. The world is suffering enough already. We are suffering serious economic and social problems already. The people of Palestine are continuing under Israeli apartheid occupation. The people of Western Sahara continue to suffer the indignity of occupation by Morocco. The citizens of the Western countries are facing increasing unemployment and so on. In West Africa, we are facing Islamic insurgency sweeping down. Only 2 weeks ago, Benin was attacked by the Islamic insurgents, who are already operating in Mali, in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, and elsewhere. This is not the time for another war. The resources which will be expended on war can be expended on food production, can be expended on improving health care, can be expended on improving our people's access to housing. Let us all think again. Comrades and friends, we are rising again. We are rising again. And very, very soon, sooner than later, we shall take up the mantle of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and begin the reconstruction of Ghana under the banner of socialism. Thank you all very much. Comrades and friends, I've just been reminded by our leader, Comrade Tritrie Opoku, that tomorrow we are organizing a manifestation in front of the Pan-African television. This manifestation is for free expression in Ghana. And it is also a solidarity event, an event of solidarity with Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks. All we are going to do tomorrow is to stand in front of Pan-African television and lift up our placards in what we call the Placard Parade. And all of you do know the situation of free expression in Ghana today. And all of you do know that if Assange is extradited to the United States of America, the consequences it will have for investigation, journalism, and free expression. So on behalf of the Socialist Forum of Ghana, I invite all of you to join us tomorrow in this parade of placards in front of Pan-African television at 9:30 a.m. 9:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
Can we have another round of applause for Amir? Couple of announcements. One, we'd like to say thank you very much. The small collection we did realized 1,101 Ghana cedis. We appreciate the contribution very, very much. It's later than we thought it would be. So it's probably not a good idea to start a floor discussion. We apologize for that. There are a couple of people I would like to recognize that my colleagues have asked that we recognize. There are few people here who are representing institutions. We'd like to recognize that the National Union of Ghana students are here. We thank them very much for their solidarity. The Rastafarian Council is here. I can't see who is representing. Unfortunately, if you're sitting here, you have the lights in your eyes, so I can't actually make out a lot of faces. I believe that the Convention People's Party, Bright Oduro Party, thank you very much for showing up. Then a few individuals. Okay. Comrade Akila Pasoya is here. Aki is truly one of our leaders in SMG, our inspirators and so on. We also have Comrade Call Ansah here with us tonight. Very good to see you. These are two senior citizens here. We have, is that Ashte? Yes. Honorable Niyama Ashte, former Member of Parliament. We have Sami Okujeto Ablakwa, Member of Parliament for Tongun North, is here with us. I can see Colonel Larry Gweblo Latte. Thank you very much. Indeed. Dr. Anaba, where are you? Okay, yeah. Thank you, comrade. Did I see Silva? Okay, Ambassador Tamaklo, thank you very much. Glad you're here. There are probably a few others I can't make out with the lights in my eyes, but thank you. Sorry? Comrade Nasser, Professor Gamel Nasser, are you here? Hassan. Okay. Oh, our own Hassan. Okay, welcome. Okay. Comrade Emilia Arthur, welcome. And my own comrade and cousins, Reverend Dr. Spencer Duncan, welcome very much. Okay, that's all I have. I think we're going to bring proceedings to a close here. Once again, we thank you very, very much for showing up, for recognizing the event, for solidarizing with the struggle that we want to keep alive, to strengthen, and to grow in our country. I think the objects of that struggle have been very well captured and expressed by our two speakers. So I'd like another round of applause for them. I also want to recognize the efforts of the Accra Collective of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. They are principally the ones who put this event together. We apologize for some of the sound quality. We only moved into this building less than a month ago. We're still putting systems in place, and particularly the systems required to do a broadcast for Pan-African TV to do a broadcast from here rather than from their regular premises. So I'd like to thank the PATV crew who are here again for this event and for all the solidarity support you've given to SMG events over the years. Last and not least, I'd like again to thank all of you for coming. I wish everybody a safe trip back to wherever we are going. Those of you who can't make it tomorrow, even if it's just for 5 minutes, stop by, say hello, solidarize with Julian. He's an important leader of our struggle. And as Chrissy said, we've all seen what is happening to the culture of free expression and to the individual proponents, the people through who this right, this collective right of ours is expressed. We have seen journalists killed in this country. We have seen journalists locked up arbitrarily. We've seen journalists beaten up. There's a very high level of intolerance parading through our system. And the only way to stop that, as Chrissy pointed out, is to challenge it. If we all keep quiet and watch, as they say, if they come for you in the morning, they'll come for me in the night. So if you can, please stop by tomorrow. You all know where Pan-African TV is. Stop by for a few minutes and let's take the fight forward. Thank you all once again and safe journey home. Bye.